At the age of 19, I almost died of Crohn's disease. I didn't know it at the time, but it was a pivotal moment. It would serve as a catalyst, igniting a curiosity within me about the world of alternative medicine. And there was one special person in my life that would really alter the course of my existence, that helped me down a transformative path toward a career in natural medicine and spending my life helping people. I was the kid with the cast iron stomach until my first year of college. And there I met up with the college cafeteria. So I was lucky. I was very involved in sports in high school. And my mom was a pretty good cook. And so I was really lucky. So because my athletic dreams of basketball career weren't materialized, I decided when I got to school, I would just focus on studies and writing and that sort of thing. And so I stopped exercising, which was a major mistake. And then the college cafeteria, it was filled with junk food. And so all of a sudden I started getting cramping and bloating and intestinal gas. So I went to the college health center and they said, well, you're just stressed out. Here's some Valium or Librium for your nerves and you'll get better, no problem. Well, when I didn't get better, I then went through a series of tests. And one of the tests was a colonoscopy. And they told me at the hospital, because I was a student, my insurance would cover the cost of the colonoscopy, but it wouldn't cover the cost of the colonoscopy anesthesia. And so he said that if you want me to add the anesthesia, it'll cost $200 extra. And I was 17, a student at the time. I said, I don't have the $200. So he said, okay, well, we'll do it without the anesthesia. And they started inserting things up my rectum. And it felt like they inserted a umbrella up my rectum and then they hit open. It was just so painful. And I don't think I could walk after that like normally due to the pain. Anyway, today, of course, they wouldn't do that. But this was the 1970s. So anyway, I was disgusted by Western medicine at that point, and all the over-the-counter remedies that my parents had given me didn't work. So we reached out to my grandmother, who was a spiritual healer and a lay herbalist, and she said, oh, for digestive symptoms, use mint tea. I started drinking mint tea, and I noticed two things. One, it tasted pretty good. Number two, it seemed to help. It wasn't a cure for Crohn's disease, but it seemed to help. Well, things kept progressing pretty much by going downhill. And after eating at a cheap Chinese restaurant, I got severe food poisoning, or what I thought was severe food poisoning. So basically, I didn't eat, I rested, tried to drink electrolytes, electrolyte replacement therapy, and plenty of water. And I was just getting weak and weaker. So I went to the university. I took the bus to the university health center, and they said, yeah, it sounds like you have food poisoning. We'd recommend hot baths and some Valium to soothe your intestinal spasm. So I tried that, and the hot baths worked right away. But as soon as I was out of the bath, the pain started up again. And I was started getting headaches because I wasn't able to keep food down. So it's very nauseous and had a lot of really, really bad heartburn, terrible diarrhea. A couple more days, I went to the hospital, but they said, sounds like you got food poisoning. Surely you'll get better in a few days. Well, I must have lost 10 pounds in the next few days. And so finally, a friend checked on me and said, you're not doing too good. I'm driving you to the emergency room. And so he drove me to the emergency room. They did an intake. And initially, I continued to go downhill. And at one point, I spiked a fever of 107. I was hallucinating, and the nurses threatened to tie me up. They gave me a lot of Valium injections, which at the time they used to soothe abdominal pain. And it also seemed to soothe my spirit as well. So after the end of the 10 days, I met Dr. A, who is my chief doctor in the hospital. And Dr. A said, we believe you have Crohn's disease, Andrew. And should you meet with a surgeon, they'd say, well, we should do surgery to remove the diseased part of your colon. But he said, Andrew, you're a young man, you're 19. And if I were you, I'd try to put off surgery as long as possible. I'd try to use whatever alternatives I could find. You mean like vitamins? And he said, oh, if you'd like a vitamin prescription, I'd be glad to write you one. He wrote me the first and only vitamin prescription I've ever had. Well, I went to the pharmacy, filled the vitamin prescription, but also the drug Flagyl that they wanted me to maintain on, quote unquote, prevent my Crohn's disease. It is one of the worst drugs possible. And it was used back then to treat Crohn's disease. And what was the main symptom? Abdominal pain. So I was just doubled over all the time. Here I was doubled over, went to the hospital, and now I was doubled over again because of this nasty drug. I called my doctor and I said, I don't know if I can keep this stuff down. He goes, just try, just do the best you could. And then I remember my grandmother's secret, peppermint tea. Wow, that helped my digestive system. So I started to drink peppermint tea, and you know what? It helped me get the Flagyl down. And so there I realized, wow, herbs are really powerful. They can not only eliminate certain symptoms, but they can also eliminate symptoms caused by drugs. So I thought that that was just really wonderful. Later, I continued my studies with in herbs because I found them so powerful. I took weekend classes in the back of health food stores. I was living in San Francisco, and I was working at some real dead-end jobs. I had a BA in English literature, and that qualified me for, that's right, diddly squat. So me and diddly squat were looking at the paper one day. I noticed that there was an ad that said, sales rep wanted, Tibetan medicine company. And I thought, wow, this could be right along my alley. And I went to the interview and I said, this is really up my alley. It's taking something from another culture, Asia, and making it relevant to the United States. The company that I worked for had done research in Switzerland on their herbal remedy and shown with high-level research that it was effective. So I thought, wow, the scientific validation of a natural medicine, this is great. And then it was involved in taking something natural from the earth. The Tibetan medicines were combinations of minerals and herbs. So I was really intrigued by this idea of taking something from the earth and introducing it to our increasingly modern synthetic world. So it was just great when I could get a job working in the herbal industry. Looking back on my journey, I'm just indebted so much to the remarkable individuals that helped shape my path. There was Dr. A. He was the doctor who introduced me to the idea of alternatives instead of surgery. Equally important was the influence of my grandmother. And although my grandmother couldn't afford medicine, what she could do is go out into the garden, pick some herbs, and put them in a pot. And peppermint was one of her favorite herbs, particularly for digestive disorders. I can't help but smile, for I've realized that not only did I find a career doing what I love, but I've also discovered my life's calling. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please be sure to like and subscribe. This would really help us grow our channel. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.